Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Wise Burn Unified School District Board meeting of August 17th, 2022. May we have a motion to approve the agenda, please? Thank you. Second. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll now move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's see, Dr. Harbeck, to mix things up, can we ask you to
Of course.
say the pledge?
And on our heart, ready, begin. I
pledge
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Wendy, at this point, we turn to our public comments. Do we have any comments from the public?
Let me just check.
As we are checking, also a welcome to everyone for coming tonight. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our volunteer board members. Thank you to our cabinet, for all the staff, the teachers who are joining us, and public at home. Thank you for being a part of our community and being part of our district. No public comments. All right, then we'll move to our first presentation, our one special presentation, the 2022-2023 district priorities. Dr. Silvers.
I probably should. Is someone presenting?
Judges.
Okay. All right, good evening. Really excited to turn on the mic.
That is exciting.
Yeah, I'm real excited to be able to share the culmination of hours, 60 probably hours worth of work from, the leadership team, teacher leaders, being able to go look through data from with our district, data about our district, regarding our district, student achievement data, et cetera, to be able to come up with our district priorities for the 2022-23 school year. I also want to share that while we're showing a list of 5 priorities and some action steps there, this really is a multi-year plan. We're not expecting obviously perfection or to hit these priorities to the full extent in 1 year, but really looking to work towards these priorities, and then over time be able to look for what this is sharing here is continuous improvement, being able to come back to analyze them and then to figure out if we need to pivot, if we need to continue as is, and continue to look at data for continuous improvement. So we are committed to that. This is our mission as educators, is to provide high quality instruction to our students, and really to be proud of the work that we do on our school sites to support our students. And we are proud of that, and we want to continue to be proud of that. Really looking at our diverse student population and wanting to make sure that we're using data to meet those diverse needs of our students. So the needs of our diverse student population. So anyway, we'll move on from here. So looking at our priority areas, I just wanted to share, if we look to the right, you see the 3 boxes there, which outline our major priority areas where you'll see our action steps. The first one would be in the area of teaching and learning. The second one would be in the area of student safety and wellness, with the third one falling in organizational strength. And when we look at our priority areas, we know that what we've asked is that our schools, our schools with support from our district, would look at prioritizing these instructional initiatives, prioritizing student achievement, prioritizing looking at data to allow for that. And so these priorities, initiatives need to be measurable, achievable, and accountable. And so as we start going through the year and as we start analyzing our priorities, we'll bring back to the board metrics so that we're able to present to the board how we're faring or how we're moving towards this model of meeting our priorities. As you'll notice, can you go back? Sorry, Jason. As you look at the different priority areas, the one thing you'll notice it shares in that last paragraph there is that there's these action steps, or what we're calling strategic actions, that are designed for us to meet those priority areas, or to meet the priorities. So we'll use those in relationship to student achievement data to be able to bring those measurements or the metrics back to the board. All right, thank you. So the first priority area is teaching and learning. If you notice, we always want to tie them back to our district pillars. And so you see our district pillars underneath. Just go back real quick, Jason. The district pillars underneath, we have whole child and future ready. And I just want to bring to light that in all of our priority areas, we do touch all 5 of the pillars, all 5 of our assurances to our community. That was important to us, that we made sure that we did hit each of those. I also want to share that these are our very specific pillars. These are our kind of, I guess, I don't want to say most important, but I'll say it. These are sort of what we've identified as the most important pillars or most important priorities for the district. There's many other priorities, as you can imagine, in running a school district and teaching students and providing these services to families. We just wanted to highlight those areas for resource allocation and our ability to make good decisions. So again, priority 1, teaching and learning, whole child, future ready. So priority 1 is to improve student achievement in English language arts. And this is through continuous implementation and evolution of the Reader and Writers Workshop protocol, or those strategies. And these are actually real pictures of our students. So here are our strategic actions for priority 1. We're utilizing our guiding coalition leadership meetings and our TCT time, our teacher collaboration time, that's made available to us through our PE program to do lesson development or to conduct lesson development, facilitation, review, and then of course, data analysis. So that we're kind of going through that cycle of inquiry, making sure that we're looking at lesson development and then analyzing their outcome. Second, utilizing district teachers on special assignment, that's our TOSAs, and any related consultant support that will help us in mentor and coaching our teachers, also helping and coaching and supporting our administrators in the areas of Readers and Writers Workshop. We're including regular and dedicated daily time for reading and writing instruction. So I'm actually gonna hand that off to Eileen a little bit to share how the schedule has evolved into these blocks of time that are consistent. Maybe you talk about math and win time math and ELA, so I don't have to repeat it again. Yeah, if you don't mind, yeah. Oh, I guess you do have to come up. I'm sorry. Eileen.
So at each of our sites, our elementary sites, of course, middle school already has designated time for math and English and science based on the grade level. In our elementary schools this year, we have designated time for math, for reading, and then what's called what I need time, which is win time. And this is a general education time where students can get supplemental support if they need it, or what we call practice, or they can also have enrichment. So teachers are going to be working through that in the next few months, and we'll keep reviewing it to see how we're doing with it. But it is a dedicated, set and protected time each day for these 3 components. So you're going to see that on all 3 campuses, and it's by grade level. So if we need teachers to work together during that time, they can. It also allows our support staff to go in at specific times, knowing when the schedule is live.
That's a question for Eileen before she goes there. For the win, for either one of you, perhaps, for the win time and the NTSS, how individualized is this? I mean, this sounds like it's very individualized for every student. Am I stretching that?
No, and honestly, when we look at the data, students do fall into categories based on their need for that time. So it changes from week to week. It could depend on where the child is with math or with reading, because no child stays stagnant. And so as their needs change and as we identify, they'll move around in those needs. So sometimes enrichment, it is exciting. Yeah.
It is exciting. It's really exciting because we all know if we plan for something, we're much more likely to actually do it. And by setting aside specific time that's targeted for these activities, the likelihood that they'll get done must just skyrocket. That likelihood, the probability of actually accomplishing it. Congratulations. I just think that's a great idea. Doesn't it seem obvious? Hey, we should plan the time, but we don't do it all the time.
And I'll just mention that this was piloted before school closure, back before pre-pandemic. This was piloted with a small group at Cabrillo. So it's not something we're stepping into without any knowledge base.
This is awesome. Thank you.
So then moving down or across, number 4, I'll just slide over there to number 4. It's that we're really going to focus on data. So as we look at number 1, which is the ability for those teacher leadership teams to actually analyze data, we need to have the data, right? So we're looking at regular benchmark assessments, anywhere between 6 to 8 in English language arts and mathematics, so that we can then look at student achievement data and be able to make data and decision-making at the forefront of our practice. And then moving down, this is sort of a special one, really unique to Wiseburn, is that we're going to utilize the framework. And this framework is something that I have to say, really hats off to our principals, and thank you to the Talking Teaching Network, Bill Saunders, for his support here, with also our TOSAs, who were part of this, our teacher leadership team, for coming together and creating this learning progressions for teachers as it relates to various pedagogy, so various content areas. In this case, we're talking about English language arts. So as teachers are rolling out Writers Workshop, what are those learning progressions that show this instruction is really taking off in a classroom, and being able to work across a spectrum? And principals have a rubric, so they're able to really adjust and support teachers as they're going through the progressions of teaching in Writers Workshop as we're speaking here. So I thought that was it's kind of unique to Wiseburn. And then implementing a block of time weekly that focuses on multi-tier systems of support. That's what Eileen just shared. It's what I need in the elementary schools, and it's pod time at the middle school, the advisory time. Used to be TLC, now it's turned to pod for dolphins. All right. Priority 2 is to improve student achievement in mathematics through continued implementation and evolution of our signature practice of cognitively guided instruction and the teaching and learning strategies that are associated with it. Go on. And so in here, again, a lot of these are going to be the same. So I'll highlight these at a higher level. Feel free, of course, to ask questions. But again, TCT time for the cycle of inquiry. We're looking again at specific and targeted instructional support with partnerships with consultants. Also looking at, we have looked at TOSAs, weren't able to find a TOSA. So we're really looking at what are the best consultants that we can find to help support our instruction in CGI and mathematics. And then going down to look at this, including regular and dedicated daily time. Again, same thing as Eileen just shared, administering regular benchmarks, again, very important, utilizing another framework that was created specifically for math, and then implementing the block of time for WIN support, or for WIN time, as well as pod time at the middle school. That would be then supporting those areas, Dr. Goldman, as you shared, to be able to find out where students are and be able to address their needs where they are. All right. Priority area number 3 is the final in the area of academics, and that's improving student access and achievement in the area of science, and that's utilizing the newly adopted curriculum, Elevate and STEM scopes. That's Elevate in the elementary schools, and then STEM scopes at the middle school. Three goals here, or 3 actions here. Utilizing the guiding coalition. Again, this is becoming our signature practice, is utilizing this special time for teachers to collaborate, for our guiding coalition, which is our teacher leadership team, to help plan that time. And then it gets carried out by the teacher collaboration time, the teachers during the teacher collaboration time at all grade levels, and be able to go through that cycle of inquiry. Utilizing professional learning opportunities. We do have a TOSA in science to be able to collaborate and then regularly discuss and analyze best practices. And then engaging in regular and ongoing dialogue. Again, to the right, I just shared that, but sorry, with teacher on special assignment to help plan and implement lessons. So in the second priority area here, student safety and wellness. This isn't an order priority, meaning this isn't prioritized in a particular order, it's by blocks. And student safety and wellness falls under the assurances of community and collaboration. And priority 4 is to ensure school site safety and engage students in authentic ways that bolster trust, connection, and an overall well-being. So here we're looking to dialogue regularly with local law enforcement. I have had the opportunity to speak regularly with Chief Ishii from Hawthorne Police Department. I've also been able to engage recently with the Sheriff Department so that we can start having some more dialogue, particularly with our sites that are in the county, so that we can maybe have these parent nights and some outreach as it relates to those that are patrolled and governed by the sheriff. Assessing entry and exit points at each of the school sites for strength and weakness. I should point out, I believe in the version that I have published, it's assessing and addressing entry and exit points, because the idea would be that we're going to take a look at our entry and exit points, and then we'll address those as needed. And I believe I'm going to have an update in my during my comments, where I'm going to share a little bit more specifically about some of the recommendations I may have for that. And then ensuring all staff have completed their violent critical incident training. That's our district is actually recognized as an ALICE certified school district. ALICE is an acronym. I won't say it now, but certainly we'll have some parent meetings that we'll be able to share our ALICE protocols, as well as start figuring out best ways to get that information to our students. But all of our staff go through this training every year. It's actually a very good training too. And then reviewing all of our comprehensive safe school plans. And I always say this was sort of my, this was a labor of love for me as a principal and an assistant principal to really build our comprehensive safe school plans. It's not all about what you do in terms of emergency response. It's a lot about how you set goals for a safe school site and also for a connected school. So what are we doing to build relationships with students? And you set goals in both of those areas every year, as well as having emergency response, protocols. All right, and then priority number 4 is on student wellness. We have Dr. Ingram here, who's really been tantamount to helping us roll this program out. It's supporting and monitoring site goals for each of the district's 6 mental health and counseling professionals. And they do have measurable and attainable goals that all revolve around the following. And just as I get into them, I'm going to actually share, we are going to ask the counselors to come in and share those with the board. They're going to have presentations where we'll be able to provide that information more specifically to the board. Again, as we do with most of our priorities, we want to show our attainment of them. Providing support to students and families through individual, group, and family services, workshops, and trainings. Really important that we get that outreach to families. There had been such a gap with the pandemic and being able to do that outreach. And so it's really important that we try and re-engage our families. Maintaining school-wide culture of safety and support where people feel a sense of connection to the school. I know we always say, we want students to all feel connected to one adult at a school site. It's really important also that our families feel a connection to the school site and feel that they can, that they have someone they need, that when they need something, especially related to students, that they can reach out.
I have a comment about this too. I think this is really special to call out each student and try to set up an aim, not just try, but have a goal of having a relationship for each student, that they have someone that they know they can trust and ask questions or just be themselves. Because I have a feeling there's a lot of kids who, we could all go through stages. We remember those stages. Our kids are going through those stages where they feel alone or they don't understand themselves and they don't know if anyone else understands them either. And it's really important, and that this is being called out as a special goal, not just as a goal, but a priority. I'm really happy to see that. That's really great.
Thank you. And then looking at developing systems and supports that allow equitable access to student-centered and whole child approach to teaching and learning for all students. Wanted to make sure that we're addressing the needs of all students, that we're being able to provide, students are varying levels, students have varying experiences, and wanting to make sure that we bring their experiences, to our classrooms, to our school sites, so that they all have an equitable experience. And then finally, implementing programs and opportunities for families to engage in the school culture. Again, promoting that positive communication between the school and the families. And then last, definitely not least, is organizational strength. And I couldn't think of another name for it, so it's just double mentioned here. Organizational strength, and the assurance is organizational strength.
It's just that strong.
Is that strong? We say it twice, one boldface. So we're ensuring the district continues to demonstrate organizational strength through business service practices and human resource practices that are equitable, effective, and systems oriented. And so moving over to our priorities, this is in the area of human resources. It's looking at enhancing our recruitment. And again, my hat's off, thank you to Nisha for the work here. Really looking at our internal networks, social media, recruiting websites, our outreach to the community to be able to find ways to recruit, looking at, again, at universities, colleges, et cetera, but trying to find innovative ways and a multitude of ways to be able to recruit staff. And then designing dynamic interviewing, screening, hiring process, just so that we can identify the best talent. We want to, we always believe we want the teachers that and staff that work in Wiseburn to be the best. I mean, that's the goal. It's the goal of ours to have an equitable staff, but really looking at having the best people come into our schools and teach and support our students. Then fostering a work culture which prioritizes collaboration and communication. Really where issues are resolved effectively. We want to be able to know an issue, solve the issue, and be able to keep our staff and our teachers and staff feeling confident and comfortable in the work they're doing and where they're doing their work. And enhancing the employee experience, of course, really focusing on DEI and wanting to make sure, again, as it kind of overlaps with some of the other, but making sure that we're equitable in our hiring practices, that we're finding ways to outreach to various universities, maybe that we haven't in the past, and diversifying our outreach so that we're gathering the most diverse set of folks that may want to come in and work in the district, or that are here and want to stay in the district. And then last, really looking at ensuring position control is managed effectively. And then in the business service office, again, with Greg Magnuson's here with us today, and Mr. Magnuson's been very, very helpful in us, beginning the process. This will be a longer process, but it's one that we're committed to getting through this year. First, establishing a decentralized approach to management of revenues and expenditures by creating cost center management, having each manager responsible for a budget, and making sure that we're understanding how the money starts, where it ends, and that people are taking ownership over their budgets. Monitoring enrollment and attendance rates. Eileen may speak a little bit on that later today, not today at the next meeting, but looking at our enrollment, managing our enrollment and attendance rates. And the difference there is you have enrollment, right? The number of students that are enrolled in your school district, but you have to have students come to school too. So what we saw during the pandemic was this bit of a decrease in students attending school, and albeit for important reasons, COVID, quarantine, et cetera. But as we move into next year, really wanting to encourage students to come to school, not come to school sick, but come to school, and monitoring and finding out better ways, or to encourage very good ways of reaching out to families when students are absent or missing. And what we'll do from that in the business office is adjust staffing between business and HR, is adjusting staffing levels as needed. And then also looking to increase marketing efforts so that we can start building enrollment should we need to. So there's that balance between not wanting to decline and of course, at one point, we reach a max. And then reviewing plan for one-time funds. As you all know, the one-time funds have just sort of rained in on us over the last couple of years. Again, this year, we're finding ourselves with a lot of one-time funds and wanting to make sure that we have a solid plan for those one-time funds, that we're extending them out so that we are able to implement programs that make sense and make a difference, and not getting those one-time funds caught up in ongoing funds, and knowing the best accounting and spending practices with one-time funds, and continuing to analyze that. So feeling very good about these priorities, feeling really supported through these priorities, or with these priorities. So excited to bring back some metrics to the board in future board meetings. And that's it in a nutshell, or more than a nutshell. It's a lot, but it's a lot. It's an important. These are very, very important priorities that would outline our work for the year. So I'm happy to be able to present those to you today.
First of all, thanks a lot. I think there's a lot of thought here, so a lot of really good combination of philosophy, education, implementation, just a lot of things come together here, following the pillars also. How is this information shared with the staff, and what are some of the plans for implementation?
Yeah, so upon potential adoption from the board would consider and adopt. Then we would post this on our website. We would send it out in newsletter to our staff. I have maybe written it in some ways to the welcome back speech that I'll be giving to staff when we come back. So trying to introduce it in various ways so that people are aware, but wanting to find ways to outreach. And we're looking to create a one-pager. I know Dr. Goldman had asked that I look at creating a one-pager that's easy to see and easy to run through. So maybe it doesn't have it's not it just makes it easier to digest. Did that answer your question? Did I miss a piece of it? I'm sorry.
No, I understand we have to approve it first, but
Yeah.
Some of these are so specific to classroom management, let's say, as well as sort of curriculum. So they require not just a one sheet, here's what we're doing, but some sort of practical way that it will actually be implemented by individual teachers?
Got it.
That's more my question.
Yeah, okay, so you're talking about like the professional learning, professional development side of it on how that rolls out. Great. Eileen, do you want to just touch a little bit on that? You need to walk up here again.
And to that point, maybe part of this is, you talked about TOSAs, we don't in math, kind of. What's the plan?
So there's so many pieces, right? And we don't want to appear to be unorganized in that way. And one of the things that we started last year, but we continued it in June and again just yesterday, is working collaboratively with our cabinet, our principals, our TOSAs, our coordinators, Dr. Ingram, to actually sit down and take time to plan and to focus and to chart out what it is we're going to do to support teachers, to have a focus, a combined and aligned focus. What are our priorities separate from this? What our priorities are for each part of this? How will the TOSAs be used? How will this specifically our settings and our time? So we want to make sure everything is aligned across campuses, not just at one school. And in doing that, it's called how to. How do you do this? So we wanted to make sure we did that in June. We did it yesterday. We'll meet again in February to go back and visit and see where we're at. So we keep adjusting and looking at our priorities and our time, our setting, and our supports for our teachers and our students. So it is aligned. There's quite a bit to it, but as we do this, we're keeping track of everything. Also, the principals do meet monthly with Dr. Saunders to go through exactly where we're at. We review where our progress is with all of our collaboration time, our Wednesdays, anytime at all that we have our visits to classrooms, what teachers need with our guiding coalitions. We meet with all those components, all those settings, all those pieces, and we continue to align and make sure nothing goes off balance. So that's where we're at. It's all about communication, I think, with our teachers to make sure we're meeting their needs, and with our administrators so that we go on collaborating and keeping each other focused and eye on the priority.
So are you planning to come back to the board with like a status report or sort of findings and so forth, maybe by February when you do your sort of first review?
We will, and we'll tie it to student achievement levels as well.
That's great. Thank you.
Have a quick comment. I wanted to thank you, Blake, for the wonderful presentation. I know a lot of thought went into this, and what I wanted to speak to was the process. I appreciate the process that's taken place. Obviously you mentioned it's aligned with the guiding principles, but I think having a cabinet involved, the administrators, the TOSAs, our teacher leadership, and obviously our consultants like Talking Network to help out. That's what's important is that involvement to get everybody's buy-in. And obviously, I think Dr. Harbeck presented it really well right now in terms of now comes the hard part, how we roll it out. And I know that there's still a lot of work that needs to take place for that to happen, but I think it goes to the point that Joanne just mentioned. So I just appreciate the fact of where we're at today. And this is going to take us really to the next step in terms of really helping address our students' needs. So thank you.
Thank you.
Further points, question on student safety. Dr. Silvers, you and I had a conversation I want to bring out publicly about conversing about securing our schools. And I wonder if this isn't the time in your public comments when you get to either way, just talk about plans for keeping our schools safe relative to entry and exit. And let me just stop there and let you address that.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate to talk about it now, just because it is one of the priorities was to assess that. It was really important to this board. I know that we took a look at our entry and exit points. While some of it we can't address, like our gate exits, we sub-bolt lock or the locks that it's basically the hardware that's on the gate. But looking at our front entrances, we did have a conversation with principals just recently about locking the front doors and trying to find ways to communicate with families, to still allow families to drop lunch off or drop a note off or a message off to students or to staff. But to find those ways to continue communication while still locking that front door, we do believe that would add another layer of safety, another layer of security to our school sites. So I believe I'm going to recommend to the board that we give it a shot, that we really try to, and we could always, backpedal a little bit, we can adjust a little bit, we can I guess adjust and not backpedal, adjust is probably a better word there. But we can adjust a little bit to how we are monitoring and implementing that process. But certainly wanted to go probably a little bit more stringent at first and have the doors locked and have certain guidelines that are set out by the principals. Just want to share though that it is site specific. Each entryway, as you all know, is different and the management of that door will look different. So we're going to sort of defer that to the principals and their best of judgment to help plan that with their staff so that it's effective for them. But looking to do that really at this point doesn't seem like a huge hurdle or obstacle in the way for us to start that, maybe starting the school year. The one caveat being we have discussed maybe not doing that for the first week or two, as there's just a lot of ingress and egress to the school sites with registration and the first couple of weeks are just pretty more impacted. The offices are just more impacted. So it may be something that we want to consider.
So you'll come back to us basically with either a recommendation or action to effectively lock our schools after the first week or so to keep them secure.
Yeah.
Are we then going to be also looking into electronic means to do this? So we're not physically asking our staff to get up and down to do that?
Yeah, good question, Dr. Goldman. I guess to be super clear, unless the board would prefer me to halt, I guess I'd come back more with an update at the next meeting on I believe it's on September 8th. To share with the board kind of how we're doing it, because I think we're going to try and proceed forward with locking the front doors. And then I want to make sure I answer all your questions, Dr. Goldman. So that's one, right? Is that yes, I'd like to come back more with an update. Maybe some lessons learned as we've unlocked the door or as we've locked the doors, maybe some adjustments we made, something like that. That'll be only the second week of school, third week of school there. So see where we are at that point. The electronic opening. We have looked at several. I know Jonathan has spent some time looking at some options. Some are very expensive, some less expensive, but most are hard to get right now. So we're sort of in this phase of trying to find some items that may work, and then also want to make sure that what we're doing isn't going to be something that works for a few weeks and then breaks down. So I want something that's more reliable as well. So just to start, maybe we'll just see how much interaction there is between the site clerks or secretaries and the outside world, if you will, and then be able to make better decisions with data. Make sense?
Yes, and not over engineering it, and let's see what we can learn in a simple solution should make some sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And from my perspective, I think an update is fine. I just would stress the importance of making sure that we communicate. This will be a significant change to our parents, our community. So we can certainly communicate after that second week.
Absolutely.
Any your thoughts or comments on the team and Dr. Silver's presentation?
I have one comment.
One comment is we gotta find a better
All
way
right,
to get
there
this
we
money.
I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation today and all the hard work that went into preparing this, because it's really important to develop a plan and have a vision so that everybody can work towards it. It's much easier to be working towards the same direction as opposed to trying to accomplish things that all working differently. So I think it's really important to have such a vision and such set priorities. And also do checks, as you mentioned, during the process so that you can make assessments and measurements. And it really provides you a wonderful opportunity to adjust as you're progressing. A plan that's laid out isn't necessarily going to end up at the same way you envisioned it when you started. Right? So I really like the fact that you have check-ins and points to assess. And thank you for all the hard work that went into doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and one last thought is that I'm ecstatic about the individualized nature of moving forward, of how we can learn not only in the educational side of the wing time and the pods, but also the student wellness. And I know I could ask Dr. Ingram, not at this time, but at a future board meeting, to present some of the efforts that are to take care of student wellness and making sure every student is seen and heard. And so just that question.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on, now we're moving to district updates. 4.1, the Wiseburn and Da Vinci School partnerships. I can share that these conversations are ongoing. Thank you to our partners at Da Vinci. And by the way, congratulations on opening school. The is up and going and busy as all. Good luck to them and thank you for their good work. I turn to my colleagues for any comments they'd like to make about their department, their committee conversation.
So Roger, maybe we can sort of make a joint presentation here. Roger and I had the privilege of meeting, representing the Weisburn Board in a joint discussion with Da Vinci board members represented by Brian Meath and Joe Weber. And our discussion is facilities and budgets. It's not just facilities budgets, but budgets and facilities. And I'd like to also thank Dr. Ingram and Dr. Silvers for the time spent with me and Roger to prepare a review document that we used very successfully with the meeting that Roger and I had with Brian and Joe Weber yesterday to discuss these topics. We had a spreadsheet that staff prepared for us and we discussed that showed what the current funding relationship is between Weisburn and Da Vinci, how the money is allocated, what money it is, and how it is, why it is the way it is. Looking at Ed Code, looking at the agreements that we have between Weisburn and Da Vinci currently, which is the facilities use agreement, as well as what we commonly know as the Magna Carta. So we had a great discussion. This was our fourth meeting of its kind. It was the fourth meeting of its kind, and the first where we had this completed spreadsheet for us to review. And it's made it very easy to talk about these topics, made it very easy to understand the current situation, why it is the way it is. From the Weisburn side, we had a chance to recommend some possible changes that might be beneficial to both sides in the future. And left the discussion requesting that Da Vinci also, in reviewing his documentation, come back to us with things that they might like to see differently managed or differently budgeted. So it's a really good discussion, very positive on both sides. Very supportive of kids, very supportive of schools, very supportive of being responsible, of course, with the funding that we all manage. So I'd like to say that I thought it is a really good way of discussing these topics together. And we're gonna find out when we go to the next meeting, which we have currently scheduled for October 4th, when we reconvene. And look at the information with a little bit more of a Da Vinci perspective. So I think we're meeting our goal here of opening communication, of discussing topics of relevance to both communities, all communities, the parents, the students, the staff, and so on. And it takes a while to establish rapport and credibility and trust. And I think in addition to talking about topics which have dollar signs, we're also building those relationships. So, Roger?
Yeah, thank you, Joanne. I will add just one item. I think when we first started with this partnership, the Weisburn and Da Vinci created these documents, the Magna Carta, the FUA. No one's ever done this before, and here we are over 10 years in the relationship, in the partnership. So we're right at the point where those documents were established. There was some foresight in ensuring that we would revisit those documents on a periodic basis. So there is a provision that every 10 years or a pre-agreed upon period of time that at least two members from each board, what Da Vinci and Weisburn plus some staff, would get together and review those documents because things may have changed. The agreements may have changed, the implementation may have changed. Very similar to what we're talking about with priorities and launching something, right? So I'm really pleased the fact that we're meeting, having those conversations. And I think our meetings went really well. So thank you for the excellent summary, Joanne.
Yeah, once again, thanks to Dr. Ingram and Dr. Silvers for supporting this effort with a lot of time and energy and helping us to understand the status quo so that we can make improvements. this and have good discussion.
Mr. Martinez?
No, the sports, music arts committee. However, I did want to share with everyone that we are now in the Pioneer League, beginning this year. So that what that means is we'll be playing our local schools, which is great, El Segundo, Torrance schools. However, it is going to be a little more competitive.
Few more students.
And a quick thank you and shout out to Derek Boston and Brian Mead on the governance committee. Again, progress moving forward, good conversations.
Yeah, but are looking forward to having our next meeting as well. I think that one was set for the 12th, 14th, October 12th or 14th. We're going to be following as our next steps, very similar process in developing an outline of some talking points. So Blake and Monique will be meeting with you again and others. So it'll be a very similar format with what we did with facilities and finance to really set the well, give us an opportunity to have an ongoing discussion on some very specific items that we may want to revisit. The topic of that is governance overall. So then we'll be presenting that, and then they'll also have an opportunity to take a look at it. Then we'll jointly meet and have a discussion. But we have to start somewhere with the proposal. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next month.
Thank you. All right, we'll move at this time to our information section, 5.1 from the board. Mr. Vice President.
Thank you, Neil. Keep my items short tonight. I just want to take an opportunity to welcome back the Da Vinci High School staff, students, and families to another school year. So welcome back and looking forward to the school year. I have a sophomore this year attending Da Vinci Science, so looking forward to it. And then in terms of Weisburn, I know we're getting ready here in the next 2 weeks to start at the K-8 level. So wanted to just get an update, which I'm sure that Blake will talk about in terms of how are we doing in terms of our site facilities and are we ready for that? And I know there's a lot of work taking place from our cabinet to prepare with hiring staff and so forth. So just looking forward to an update there.
Thank you, Nelson. Joanne?
Actually, Nelson said all the right things as far as I'm concerned, so I'm also happy that Da Vinci started in a way, but traffic becomes a nightmare. So yes, we're happy they started, and I know it will settle down. And this is the first year, I think, we're implementing this new law where high school cannot start before 8:30 in the morning. So it's a challenge, of course, managing the entry and exit of all those various students and families. So I know it's being well managed. They wouldn't let me through this afternoon when I needed to. So they're doing a really good job managing traffic. Soon welcome back to Weisburn, K-8. And here we go again, unbelievable. And if you remember, coming from COVID, we are really, I think, in a full year looking forward to it. I don't think there's any mask mandates now. I don't think there's any
Free for all.
particular requirements that have to do with COVID this year. Last year, we did have a lot of things we were managing as school started in the fall. So it's pretty exciting to think we may be sort of back to school in a more real sense or in a more average normal sense. I hope we are. It's 3 years almost, phenomenal in that way. So we have kids who don't know what it is to go to school without a mask on. So if you think about that, we have little ones who will probably be going to school now for the first time without a mask. So just keep in mind that whereas adults, we've been through a lot, so have the children, and we want to just be patient, and I know we are. Welcome back to everybody.
Thank you.
Here a little bit, but just because there was a quick comment on the parking and the traffic, it has been quite a hectic traffic pattern here on Douglas. But I just want to say that the Da Vinci staff has really been remarkable at moving people through the parking lot, just the protocols and procedures that have been in place. I mean, I don't think it could have gone any smoother for the first couple of days, and sure, it'll start, getting better with time as people become more used to it. But, I just have to say, my hat's off to a very difficult task of starting a school with one entrance, really one driveway entrance and an exit, and lots of cars and kids to make sure it happens. It's happened safely. The staff is very welcoming and just really, really effective. So my hat's off to Vicente and Matt and the team there for what they were able to pull off, and also to the El Segundo Police Department. They've been out in full force, literally, to help support traffic patterns and the safety of our community. So thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
Roger. Yes, I have one item to share that's both exciting and profoundly grateful. I was speaking of the start of school. My youngest son, Alex, started at Da Vinci Science. And so I have my 4th high schooler within our Da Vinci schools. Again, it's incredibly exciting. It's wonderful to see, but also tremendous and profound gratitude because they've also all 4 of our sons have gone through Weisburn schools. So I just really want to say thank you to all of our teachers, our staff, our administrators. It's really a tremendous joy for Minerva and I to have all of our boys go through the school and know our schools and know that they've received truly a fantastic education. So don't know how else to express that gratitude, but other than to at least say it, I am very, very proud of all the accomplishments that our boys have done going through the school, but also the dedication, commitment, and passion from our teachers and the service that they've received. Our last one through the schools. But it's an absolute pleasure and an honor to serve on that Weisburn board. And it's something that's I can't thank the community enough as well and our teachers for allowing us, our family, to have that privilege to serve on the board, but for our boys to go to the school. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roger. Enjoy your last days of summer, everyone. As school approaches in a week and a half or so. Welcome back early. This is our last boarding before school starts. Good luck to everybody in the schools at the administrative level, teachers, the staff, everyone in getting things ready. Thanks for all the work over the summer, and may it all go smoothly. We do have some different changes in this year's beginning to school, so we'll ask for your patience and your grace as parents as we figure out the new food for everyone options, etc. I also want to recognize Aaron Keller and the board of WEF for their great work. And Dr. Silva and I got a chance to go to their meeting last night, and they're setting out to set a goal of more than $250,000 in revenue raised this year. So thank you for the dedication and good work you're doing, and please support WEF, your PTAs, and all our school efforts. We'll move now to the Director of Psychological Services, Ms. Mazzarella. We all hear exercise.
It's on. Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to address the resignation of Dr. Tammy Dogowitz. You'll see that in item 10.2. She accepted a promotion in Tustin Unified as a coordinator of special education. So she resigned, and we wish her all the best and all the best of luck to her in her new position. We have posted that position. It closes this Friday. We will be doing interviews. Plan is next week, and hopefully someone will be in place. I'm hoping by the 3rd, 4th week in September. So
Does that mean you're doing double duty for a little while?
yes, I will be starting the school year over there as the acting principal. And
Well, no more talented person than you.
why, thank you. So that's my report.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Dugal, our Assistant of Human Resources.
Good evening, everyone. A couple updates from HR. First, we are having our first job fair tomorrow from 4 to 7. So on Thursday, August 17th, from 4 to 7 at Dana Middle School in the NPR there. We are specifically recruiting for our instructional aid positions, playground aid positions, technology aid. And so Dr. Silvers in his priorities PowerPoint had mentioned just getting out there, getting the word out, social media. And so it's been it's been nice to see the social media buzz and getting phone calls about, what do we need to bring, and we're excited to come. So all of our sites will be represented, and we hope to get some qualified candidates in and get everyone processed and ready for the school year. Also, COVID, HR can't go without talking about COVID. So, yes, masking is now highly recommended, no longer required. And so we are, we've been sending out information to parents, both at the district level as well as school sites in regards to that information. We will also have rapid tests available, or what we refer to as the at-home test kits available for students that are symptomatic, students that have been exposed, and for staff. So be on the lookout for those at the school sites. The only requirement right now is that should someone test positive, they still need to isolate. So that is kind of the one thing that we want to make sure that staff understands, parents and families understand, is that we do not want to spread the virus while folks are on campus. And so if you do have symptoms or if you do test positive, that we do require you to isolate and not return until that isolation period is over.
And what is the isolation period now?
So currently, as of last week, the new protocol is on day 5, between day 5 and day 10. So day 1, you test positive. On day 5, if you test negative, then you may return to campus. So between day 5 and day 10, you must have a negative test to return. On day 11, you can return, no testing required. So once you test positive, you must isolate for 5 days. And then between day 5 and day 10, you can only return with a negative test and improving symptoms.
So you take a test on day 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10.
Until it's negative. Should you want to return early, you can always isolate for the full 10 days, but should anyone want to return earlier, that's when that negative test is needed.
So if a student tests positive, thank you, if they have COVID, okay, so like day 6, they're still, so 10 days, okay, they're out of the classroom. What are we gonna do with those? How are we going to provide education to those students, or they're gonna be at home?
Yeah, it'll be short-term independent studies similar to what we've done before as well, so that there will be work sent home for students. They need to complete it and then turn it in when they return.
Okay, thank you.
And how do we communicate this? I know we have lots of communication to start of school. Is that, I'm sure this is part of it.
Yeah, so that's part of it. And then just parents are aware from the previous 2 years is that when someone does test positive, they get an email from the school site, they get an email from me, they get an email from the teacher. And we kind of lay out the specific dates of return, dates of when work is due, all of that. So it's kind of too much information sometimes because they're getting it from 3 different levels.
Too much, better, too much.
Yes.
Also, Dr. Dougal, could you just share, because the testing is going to look vastly different this year than it has in the past. We're not going to have necessarily the Fulgent testing. So could you just give you may have done that in the past, but just to clarify or.
So unlike last year, we will not have a lab test or Fulgent available, Monday through Thursday for testing. Instead, the new gold standard for COVID testing are those rapid antigen tests. They do let you know if you're infectious right then and there. And so those are the tests that we have on site. And so once again, couple of ways we're going to go about doing this. Most importantly, if student has been showing symptoms or is exposed, we will test them immediately with parent consent in the health office and then go from there. If they're negative, they return back to class. If positive, then they need to start isolating. We also will be sending home tests similar to what we did last year before long weekends or any sort of, if there is a surge and we need to get kiddos tested immediately, then we'll also be sending test kits home during that time as well. So it's going to be a little bit proactive and also reactive as there's a need for testing, but we will no longer be testing with Fulgent through a lab.
And then to the other side of the coin, probably no plans now, but as to vaccines, are we going to have any shot days again?
We will look forward to that. We are kind of waiting for the flu season to get back up and going as well. And as they are revamping the COVID vaccine, we will definitely look to partnerships to get those community-based vaccine clinics on our campuses, similar to what we did with Fulgent. They were well received both by adults, community members, as well as by our students. And so it is something that we'll look into.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your leadership here. And thank you. And as Dr. Dougal mentioned, please, you are not required to wear a mask based on the protocols and the regulations now. But if you are so inclined and want your student to wear a mask, please feel free and be encouraged to do so. We want to welcome everybody to respect your way of being and safety protocols as you see them, and you're welcome in any case. We'll go to our Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services, Dr. Harbeck.
Good evening again. I wanted to just spend a few minutes talking about next week in Weisburn. We have a busy week for our teachers and our principals. And I do want to make a comment that yesterday when we were at the how-to that I spoke about, and that was part of my report tonight, that our principals have really gone to great lengths to develop thoughtful schedules with their staffs. And I know they've been doing some preemptive meetings along the way with this, with their Guiding Coalition and different staff members, just to make sure that when everybody comes on board, that we're ready and that the schedules are in place. So all good there. Next week, we'll be having several workshops. Wednesday, we have cognitively guided instruction basics for our new teachers. We do this every year, very successful. It'll be here in the boardroom. And that's just a half-day workshop for our newest elementary teachers. On Thursday, we have Momentum in Teaching coming back. This is for the relaunch, part 2, year 2 of our writers workshop in the elementary schools. Very popular group of facilitators who have done a tremendous job working with our teachers. Looking forward to that. We do split our team. We have TK2 together in one area, and then we have grades 3 through 5 in another because needs are different. We differentiate there. And then on Friday, we have Savas Learning coming to work with our teachers on their new science adoption Elevate. So that's going on all day. Teachers will have time not just to hear about the program, but then to spend time with the materials. And then they'll use the afternoon with their principals to talk about those new schedules and work through what's coming up the next week. So all good that week. At Dana, they have 2 full days of staff workshops, Thursday and Friday. They'll be looking at student data. They do focus on their priorities, which is personalization of learning and student ownership of learning as well. So this is a very, where they're single subject, they don't spend so much time on looking at their curriculum because that's something that they have a lot of knowledge base on in terms of how they proceed. They don't need those kinds of workshops based on no new curriculum coming in except for maybe the science group. But they do need to spend time on looking at the students. They have a high number of students coming in, and so it does take more time to look at their data and how many students they are going to be working with. They want to personalize that. So we see that, and they work on their pod structures as well. I also wanted to provide an enrollment update. Weisburn is at capacity. If you look at our overall number, we have grade levels that are a little bit higher, some are a little bit lower. We'll see, as Dr. Silvers pointed out, where we come out at the end of our first week. We like to watch that. I'll come back on, I think September 8th is our next meeting to give you a more accurate number on that. I want to say that we are accepting residents and all of our schools are open for anybody who would like to come and enroll. We do have all our residents. We do have seats for them. Okay.
That's pretty exciting in a declining enrollment environment statewide and locally, and certainly some of the larger districts have had some challenges. To see those numbers is really encouraging.
We're pleased to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our superintendent, Dr. Silvers.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had a lot to say. Eileen just took all of my comments. No, I'm just kidding. No, I spoke a lot on priorities. That was really what I wanted to talk about today. And Dr. Goldman was able to share safety, some of the safety updates. But Jonathan Nava is here today too. And I think that, Nelson, you had asked about a site update, preparations for the school year. I know Greg and Jonathan have been able to walk sites. I've been able to walk sites and take a look at some of our facility needs, hopes, dreams, all of that. And so Jonathan's going to come, I think, for just a quick side, put him on the spot. So he's going to come up and talk for a minute and then maybe bring back a presentation to the board.
Hi, good evening. How's it going, guys?
Good to see you.
Nice to see you too. So just a quick update of what we're doing in the facilities this summer. I know you don't see us outside right now, but right now our custodial staff is indoors, just making sure all the classes and staff areas are getting cleaned. This upcoming week is when they'll go ahead and switch outside and do the pressure washing in the windows and breaking down the cobwebs. And then hopefully by the end of next week, I'll go ahead and get a pesticide out there and make sure that the spiders are at least down for the next couple of weeks after that. So as far as a quick little project list that we try to put together was a cleanup of the Dallaire Field. So through the past years, there were shrubs that grew between the block wall and the existing fence line that became medium-sized trees. We went ahead and just leveled those across. There are still larger trees on the other side, so it doesn't look bare. It just looks cleaner. We went ahead and still had them go ahead and remove all debris from the floor and level out any humps. So at least it's a little more visually pleasing to those who go back there and AYSO who uses our fields. And what we are working on and hopefully gets approved this evening would be the striping of the parking lots. You know, as you see, one of the couple of them that needed the most work would be, of course, the SLC and a parking lot that did not have any existing lines in the parking lot anymore. Based upon your approval, we will proceed with the striping and painting of the curbs. Just gives the parking lots and the front end of the schools just a little more, just a visually appeasing look. And then of course it helps coordinate with traffic and parking with the staff and the students. As far as a custodial schedule that we're trying to implement now, it's something that we're putting together to where it'll have their schedules. So if a sub has to come in, they're not really looking and see where they have to go. It'll be something that's implemented on the site in the closet. So they'll be able to see the run map, their listed duties for the evening, as well as any emergency shutoffs that in case anything were to arise, and that's for gas, electrical, water, they can go ahead and quick instruction, just go ahead and shut off the that utility. This goes. And also we're trying to implement a warehouse management system. We initially had a small bay to where we assumed that was a warehouse. We had pallets on one side and it just started getting everywhere. So we went ahead and switched out our grounds bay, put them in that warehouse, and now extended the warehouse with an additional bay to house our custodial supplies, to house our PPEs in a more organized manner. So this will help, throughout the year with some custodial closets, so they're not jam-packed with inventory. Of course, it'll help out with the purchase of inventory with the goods across the district as well. So we're able to store a lot more at the warehouse. And I'm sure you guys remember the back parking lot that was at the shop when you guys came in for graduation at Dana. Completely different place. Feel free to stop by whenever you'd like. But yeah, that's ready to go. We have assigned parking areas for our staff. So now nobody's, trying to move around, doing whatever, we can have large drop-offs and, we can house a lot more at the shop just for that. Some things that I'm hoping to get done by next week would be just the repainting of the Dana backboards. We are still trying to see which ones would be best for this type of beach weather so they can actually last and just so we don't have to replace them every 3 years. Also, I am looking into getting the trees trimmed and shaped. I was hesitant at first just because of their age, but we can go ahead and still at least trim them and get them to, just orderly. We are also going around sites and doing trip mitigation. I know at Dana, there were a lot of lifting and sinking of pavers and concrete. We went ahead and in-house, our grounds team re-leveled the pavers, brought them back up at those corners. We broke out some cement, laid down the concrete and then cement, and just little things at a time. We're getting there. But hopefully by the next board meeting, I'll have some visuals for you guys in a presentation to share what our teams have done.
Fantastic. It's the role you play sometimes it's so well done and things are kept up that we don't comment on it, but we notice it and we appreciate it, and creating great environments for our teachers and our staff to work makes a huge difference.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Can I just, Jonathan, can you just clarify too? I mean, since you're up there and you've played quite a role in helping oversee some of the work being done at the pool, do you just want to give an update? Because I haven't given the board an update yet, really. On the pool, so.
Yeah, so they're finally up and running. They're ready to go. Yeah, so we're maintaining temperature above 80 degrees now. They've implemented a couple different systems into the heating to where if water does go into the heat exchangers, it'll cause a little warning sign and you're able to visually see, hey, water shouldn't be passing through that section. Let's fix it before it gets any worse.
That's new, right? That's
yes,
different.
yes. Just before a regulator, they put something visually so that if it spins, you're able to see it and say, hey, water should be passing through there, let's get it fixed. Yeah, so the city of El Segundo, they did a great job overseeing that project. I just went in, checked in every so often, maintained contact with a couple of them there. But yeah, pool's up and ready, ready to go. Yeah,
Good news.
Jonathan, thank you for the update.
of course.
And please thank your team for all the work that's taking place. I know it's a lot of work as Neil said, and sometimes we don't necessarily see it. But truly appreciate it. And we do have two items, the HVAC, and obviously I was glad to see that we always should have some kind of asphalt work taking place over the summer because just to protect it. One item that I'd like to request is I think we're overdue for a facilities meeting. And more so, I would like to start talking about a little bit more of the capital improvement projects that, especially now that you're here and you've had an opportunity to really assess the school sites. What are some of the things that you see down the road that are much larger expenditures that we're talking about that we need to start preparing for? So I think we're due for that meeting. So thank you, and please thank your team.
Definitely. Thank you, guys.
So we can get together on that and maybe you can set up a date for us to have that meeting and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'll move to item section 6 minutes. Minutes 6-1 through 6-3. May I have a motion, please? Thank you, Joanne. Second. Nelson? Any comments, questions on the minutes? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Carries 4-0. Moving to action items 7. Adopt the district priorities 2022 to 2023 as presented by Dr. Silvers earlier this evening.
I would like to motion that.
Nelson?
I'll second. Thank you, Joanne.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Moving to 7.2, contract with STAR for gifted and talented education. Now, do we have two? I thought memory serves we have 2 stars. Yes. No, I guess not. Just the one. A motion, please.
I'll motion.
Thank you, Joanne.
Second.
Thank you, Roger. Nelson, Roger?
You were thinking of the star and the art.
There you go.
The next one.
Yeah, motion for, excuse me, 7-2 and 7-3.
Second.
And on the latter, the grant that we got, that you had mentioned earlier, Dr. Harback is helping take care of that, which is great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Moving to action items 8, facilities.
Would like the motion 8-1 to 8-5, if that's okay with all colleagues.
I can second that, 8-1 through 8-5, and I do have a comment on 2 and 3.
As it's motion and seconded, proceed.
And so Dr. Silvers and Dr. Ingram, for 8.2 and 8.3, if we can take a look at that for future coordination as well with our Da Vinci partners, because we do have expenses, and when I say we, just to differentiate, on the Weisburn side, for facilities at the Dale R site for this restroom and the 2 classrooms. I want to make sure I understand how the relationship there works with DB Connect and the spaces that they're using versus some of these expenses. Because when I see the restrooms and the classrooms and offices, it's about $170,000. So we do have some expenses there for these temporary offices. But I'd just like to understand how that's working out.
Is your concern that they're shared or?
I don't know if that's our portion of the cost or if that's also part of Da Vinci. Are these all exclusive use for Weisburn?
They are exclusive use,
Okay.
but you want to just share a quick update? But yes, they're exclusive use. It's blocked by a gate.
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. Yeah.
These portables are for the preschool program, the Weisburn preschool program. We're using 4 of the classrooms that are on the hard classrooms or whatever. Whoops, I'm not on, excuse me.
You were on, you were on.
We're using 4 of the classrooms that are the buildings. And then these additional modules are for another classroom, special education facilities for office staff space, the director's office. And then the other portable is for the preschool restrooms. These are for the children. So there's 1 portable and one is for the
boys and one's for the girls. Half of it's divided.
Is this the continuation of the same lease that we made last year for
Yes.
the portables for the bathrooms? We changed the heights, so.
Yep.
that's- so-
The same thing. Yes. So Connect, Da Vinci doesn't have any access to this part of the campus.
Greg, I know you did, I'm sorry, Roger. I know you did some work. Did you want to clarify anything about the leases or pretty, if there are no questions, I think? I just don't know. I saw you shaking your head. I didn't know if you had a.
Just to give. Pretty certain, good evening, everyone. I had a chance to go through the property when the leases came up, went over, take a look at them, and so, yeah, fully self-contained for the preschool operation over there, good looking buildings. We did do some work on the lease, particularly the lease at SLC, I believe it is the first one, P.1. Originally proposed was a 12-month extension. We went 24 months, so believe that that facility was going to continue to be needed, and I think we saved the district about $5,000 a year, extending at least 24 rather than 12 months. Thank you, Dr. Silvers, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Greg. Great. And pending this approval, Jonathan, you can strike away. So, all in favor of 8.1 through 8.5?
Aye.
Aye as well. Any opposed? No, motion carries. Moving to our fiscal action items, section 9. It's my understanding 9.1 through 9.6 are all dealing with special ed under your auspices, Peggy. So I might encourage a motion to that effect.
I'll motion 9.1 through 9.6.
I can second, and I think Peggy's gonna stand up and give us some information.
Yes.
9.9. Do you have other clarifications?
So 9.3 is Erica Quarters Consultant Agreement. That doesn't fall under my jurisdiction, but the other ones all do. They are either assessments or services for students that have IEPs or that possibly may have IEPs. Particularly 9.9 is a quite meaty one. I know that that's probably of concern. Those are for, and I do want to clarify in that item that it does say non-sectarian school/agency. That is all agency support. It's not any school, and the children aren't going to another school. These are services by non-public agencies coming into the school district to provide services to the kids. And a lot of this is instructional aid support, either per the IEP, the student's IEP, or because we have had vacancies that we are filling, thankfully, but we still do have some vacancies. So this is anticipated for the school year.
So on 9.9, these are not non-public school placements. These are agencies coming here to provide the service.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And these are budgets effectively. They are limitations, they're expectations. I'm wondering to that point, could we, I know this, we actually haven't moved this item yet, but we're talking about it, so we'll get there. If we could have updates on a regular basis as to how we're doing relative to those expenditures.
Yes.
Yeah, I
happy
think
to
we
provide
asked
that.
Peggy about maybe doing actuals to budget, having some sort of ongoing actuals to maybe every other month or something where we find it reasonable to be able to bring some meaningful, I guess, to the board rather than no movement, right? We
Yeah.
want to see some movement first, but yes.
Did I understand correctly? And I think when Greg made his presentation the last time, there's an increase to the special ed funding for 22-23
From the governor?
from the governor, right?
Well, bump.
A little bump though. Is there a percentage that you recall, maybe?
Off the top of my head, I think it was about 500 million across the state from the governor. I don't remember if it was one time or not.
I don't either,
Let
yeah.
me want to say that again, Greg, just on my.
Sorry about that. Just, I recollect there's, I believe it's about $500 million statewide coming through the state's revenue stream. We believe that the feds will bump up AB 602 as well coming to the state. So we'll see how this plays out as the federal budget gets adopted as we get towards October. But there's good news that, there seems to be a genuine interest in continuing to fund and raise the bar on funding for special education. So you'll see that hopefully when you receive your first interim report, you'll have more information in detail.
This is important, and folks who may not know this, I know everyone in this room knows this, but some of the folks listening to the meeting or watching, we do have, mandates for special ed education, which we certainly work hard to manage and to abide. And the mandates are fine, but they're not fully funded. The full funding is a combination of monies that come from the federal government, monies that come from the state, as well as monies that come from the Weisberg General Fund. So one of the things we've been talking about is really getting a view into what the total cost of special education is. And I know we don't have all of that for this meeting, but probably will by next meeting. And part of what Vicki's discussing, of course, is some of the funding that will come from the general fund that will be applied to special education. So as a board and as a district, we want to understand what that total funding is, so we understand how to budget properly and how to properly administer the funding that is allocated to these special needs programs. It's an unknown. It's not always predictable because depending on what's required by students and families, that changes every year, probably changes within the year. So it's a moving target, but it is something that we have to, for which we have to budget, for which we have to plan. So we appreciate the opportunity to really talk at length and appreciate the fact that these numbers are known and that they are well managed, and that we do have an opportunity as a board to manage them and take good care of our students and our budget at the same time.
And Peggy, if you could just remind us about 9.6, the agreement with Lennox School District.
We have, we're required, as Joanne has explained, to provide services to students per their IEPs. And this is adapted PE memorandum of understanding. We pay for a part of a teacher. They hire the teacher's an employee of Lennox, and they come and they serve our kids.
And they're serving us partial time.
Very partial. I'm sorry, I don't have that percentage in the top of my
I
head.
think it's 0.25. or
Yeah.
something.
It's very small amount. We've had this ongoing for a number of years. I think one year we contracted with Lawndale, but otherwise it's usually been with Lennox.
Let's stop there, and then any other comments on 9.1 through 9.6. I do want to dive a little deeper on 9.9, but let's do that when it comes up. Any other comments? 9.1. Okay, then let's take this to a vote. All in favor of 9.1 through 9.6.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion for 9.7 and or 9.8. Why don't we save 9.9 for itself?
I'll go ahead and motion 9.7, 9.8 with a minor comment on 9.7.
Thank you, Nelson.
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger. Go ahead with your question, please.
Just a minor comment on the recommended action. I believe that should be June 30th through 2023.
Which item?
I'm sorry, 9.7. It's correct in the agreement. And then on just this one, I want to highlight, I want to thank my colleagues. This is one that we approve every year, and I know it's gone up, obviously, because of the challenges with just hiring crossing guards. But you know, this is an item that I have always felt that the city is responsible for. But I thank my colleagues because I think it's important, like this, the safety of our students and
We're talking crossing guards.
Crossing
Those who may
guards.
be listening at home.
Yeah, and this is something that's really important, and we provide a safe route for our students to get to school. So I just want to thank the college for supporting that each year.
Anybody who walks around the district between 8 a.m. and 8:45 or 9 a.m. or 7:30 and 8:30 and that sort of thing. Those of us who try to ride bikes or walk in the district, much less drive around the district, appreciate these crossing guards. And they are so good at what they do. They're very kind. And they're also very diligent in managing the traffic. It's amazing because they're just people with signs and vests on. So people do a pretty good job behaving. Some people don't, but as we go forward, these guards are so important to safety.
That is our first pillar and
It
one we
is.
need to live to,
Yeah.
so I agree
I'm
with
really
Bill.
glad anyway.
I did a comment on 9.8 in the remarkable alphabet soup that is education. I thought we had moved beyond BITSA. I thought there was something that had replaced it, and now I'm seeing it again, so I'm confused.
Induction,
In-
should induction, the induction program.
Induction.
So is that what this is?
Yes. That is our agreement with PD to have the induction program for our new teachers.
So we're no longer using the BITS name or?
Yeah, it should be listed under induction. It's the way they gave us the agreement, but it really is induction.
Is there any change needed in this or it is what it is? It's the same.
It's their agreement. Yep.
Thank you. That was clarified. I appreciate it. All in favor of 9.7 and 9.8?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. All right, 9.9, a motion, please. Your motion. Thank you. Second. Anyone?
I'll second.
Thank you, Joanne. Approve master contracts for the 2022-23 school year. And Peggy, thank you again. This was, no, if you would, this is such a, this is a large item, and just wanted to clarify for our edification why it is what it is.
Okay, so you could scroll down, I guess, to public content, please. Thank you. So these are various agencies who provide service. We've got a combination for some translation agencies, a transportation agency is in there. Kids in Motion is physical therapy for our students. STAR, that might have been where you saw the STAR before, because you mentioned you saw STAR twice. This is STAR of California. It's a different agency. They provide behavioral intervention services to our students, also instructional aids. The same for autism behavior consultants and First Steps. They are all providing the same service. Cross Country is a speech language pathologist, a temporary one for this year because we have some pretty high caseloads starting the school year. Stepping Stones is also, those are for some speech language pathology assistants to help support the speech and language program. Again, all of that is services to students. And then Soliant is a staffing agency who provides staff to come in and they are instructional assistants in our program, as well as a temporary board certified behavior analyst for the district for the school year. Hopefully, as we are able to fill vacancies, which it seems like, people are kind of reaching out to work again. Hopefully we can hire district employees and eliminate the need to use the Soliant staffing agency people.
And how does this, obviously, these are projections based on our years for future need. Does this give us some context for this relative to what we spent last year?
We spent $1 million last year on contracts and consultants. We largely went with vacancies unfilled until the spring. So that's why I projected for the whole school year. Last year, the bulk of the money, I kept coming back and requesting increases. I'm hoping I don't have to do that. Fingers crossed. I've projected this for the school year.
Wow.
Hope I answered that question.
So it was, just to clarify, so we were talking about $1 million in contracts and consultants last year, but it wasn't the full year. And then we're talking about 1.9 this current year in projections. Also to share, just as Joanne shared, it's a fluid situation because there's IEPs that are pending, assessments we have, so we know there's going to be some need that we fold into some of these costs, as well as using. So the projection came from last year's costs at $1 million for not the full year to this year, which will be a full year, plus those the variable of having student assessments that are pending that we know will have some cost as well, and trying to fold that into a number. It's just a tricky balance to get to that number.
Well, I appreciate the conservative estimate and budgeting for it. Please be conservative. We're crossing our fingers and budgeting for it such that we're planning for it. And then, of course, as we talked about earlier, please progressive updates to budget along the way.
Will do.
Maybe do it like once a month or
Yeah.
once a
Since this is nearly $2 million, and maybe Greg, if you can add to this, do we have any cash flow concerns with regards to this? I mean, it's not, I guess it won't be an instant expenditure, right? It'll be, you enter into contracts for these values as not to exceed, and then pay those bills as from the services as they're utilized. So there's no cash flow issue there, because going from a budgeted amount, say of $1 million to $2 million, it's roughly double.
The district's in pretty good shape cash flow wise, particularly with the new programs that are coming down and all of these contractors, and we've seen all of them this year. And they bill monthly, and some, bill promptly, and some are a month delayed or more. So I'm not too concerned about cash flowing at these levels. They're reflective of this last year's levels. And I do think that there's some conservative numbers in here. So hopefully they will come in a little bit less, particularly if we can, hire a few aides through your job fair and get some folks in-house that might actually make it a little bit more efficient for you. But cash flow, I don't believe is going to be a problem for you with these levels. Okay.
One quick question, Peggy. So all industries right now are facing a challenge with shortage of staff. You mentioned that we're looking to hire obviously some staff. What does that mean? In terms of how short of staff are we?
Might be Dr. Google as well.
Maybe Dr. Google as well.
So two of us met continuously over the summer to review the instructional aid needs, both general ed and special education. And we are in a much better place than we were last year, just in terms of folks that better understanding our need. We have made a priority that those students that are high need, that do have behavior concerns or need intensive support and therapy, is that we would keep those highly trained agency aides for them, and then really focus our efforts in terms of classroom aides and one-on-one aides that don't have as much need in terms of services. And so we are looking to hire probably between another 10 to 12 more instructional aides. But that need may increase as the IEPs change. And so we are, we're continuously assessing the situation to make sure that we do have all of our aides filled. But we feel better that there's a plan now. Before we were just we were hiring as we needed. Now there's a better understanding of which students can stay with kind of agency aides due to their needs, and which students we know we can transition to to our own staff.
Thank you.
No doubt you'll update us as that progresses as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Peggy. Any other comments on 9-9? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Moving to 9-10, we could probably get a motion for the remainder if someone's inclined.
The motion 9, 10, 9, 12.
Thank you, Nelson.
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger. Any questions or comments on these? Just an observation on the receipts. Thank you again to Chevron for another $70,000, $60,000, I think. Yeah. Appreciate that generosity. Thank you. And Bill Saunders has been a partner of ours for many, many years. Highly regarded, much appreciated. All in favor of 9-10 through 9-12?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Moving to consent items, action items 10-1 through 10-3. Need a motion, please?
A motion 10-1 through 10-3.
Thank you, Roger.
Second, 10, 1, 10, 3.
Thank you, Nelson. Any comments or questions here? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. And then finally, personnel, 11-1 and 11-2. If someone is so inclined.
I'll motion.
Thank you, Joanne.
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger.
I want to end the-
And I think Dr. Dougal, if you can't get too comfortable, if you'll kind of take us through, this is the second iteration of this.
Perfect. So 11.1 is phase 2 of our CSCA reclassification study, which we started in 2021. And so this time around, we have 10 minor job revisions that were done, and these were really to get in line with exactly what our employees were doing. And what I meant by that is that we reference specific software they're still using now instead of things that were used in the past, outdated methods of work and such. And so this process was collaborative. It involved lots of discussion and written summaries back and forth. And so the consultants from SEAC met with each of the employees and the employee groups multiple times. Once we had the draft job descriptions, I then met with each employee group multiple times, and then CSCA went through the process as well. So this was really a collaborative effort in ensuring that the job descriptions match the work that our employees will be doing. We also, through this process, have a new clerical support family where we will be identifying what the clerical supports look like at school sites, what they look like at the department level, and what they look like for the cabinet level. So That's clearly defined, and we have also separated the custodian and the groundskeeper. So prior, it was the custodian / groundskeeper, and now we have a specific custodian position and a specific groundskeeper position. So once again, really going or aligning the work that each of those groups do to make sure that it does really justify the work that they're doing. I would also like to put on record, there is a minor change or clerical revision that I need on the salary schedule, which is the very last handout. The administrative assistant is currently a 10-month position through the reclass study. And once again, we left it as a 10-month. It was a clerical error on our part or a typing error. It needs to say 12-month. And so it's the so once again, just want to put into record that the administrative assistant position is going from 10-month to 12-month as part of the reclass study. You can see it so well on there. There it is, right there. So it says 4-21 administrative assistant. It says 10. That should say 12. And once again, this was part of the reclass study. It was just a typing error on our part.
So the people who are doing that job right now, have they been working? No. So are they okay with going to 12 months?
That was part of the study. So this study, to get to the board like this, there was actually an approval that had to happen not only by our own CSCA members, but what we refer to as the big CSCA. So the district CSCA also had to approve it. And so that is part of the recommendation of the reclass study, that this position is something that's needed 12 months a year. You know, each of our departments, besides our schools, our departments are functioning 12 months a year. So there is a need for that job to be 12 months.
So have all the parties involved here been communicated? Have they seen these new descriptions? I'm not sure what
Yep.
the process.
Yep, so they had to, before we even took this to CSEA, I had to meet with them as well. So I met with them, SEAC met with them. So we kind of went through a process of multiple meetings and also helping them understand the need for the job class revisions, as well as for this particular position, the need for it to be a 12-month position.
Did we have, when it comes to the groundskeeper custodian title, did we have many people that fell into that category? Groundskeeper.
So we
custodian?
have 4 groundskeepers, and then we have the site custodians. So all that whole group of people was working under the same job class, which was custodian / groundskeeper.
Okay.
But we specifically had 4 groundskeepers that do the grounds work and the custodians. And so now that's actually going to be separated.
Okay, they didn't choose like which one. they
No,
wanted to do.
we're actually this is one of those where we're aligning the work that each group is doing to that, right? Like they were working together, but we really knew who the 4 groundskeepers were and then who the custodians were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. This is items 11.1 and 11.2, all in favor. Aye. Any opposed? No. Well, that takes us to upcoming events. Wendy, if you could put those up. That is item 13.1. Dr. Silver, any comments here? Take us through it.
You know, I do have a comment more globally, as I think as we start building this section out, you know, I'd like to come to the board with maybe a more robust, you know, calendar where we actually would have on this all of the presentations that we can, you know, for the year. We can move them around, of course, so that the upcoming events would be a little bit more robust than just a few listings. So I'm going to try and build that out. You know, I know I put in it publicly to hold myself accountable to bringing this back to the board. But I think in that we'd also include when the budget updates will happen, first interim, you know, unaudited actuals, LCAP approval, all the major items, as well as when school sites would come present, you know, other major presentations that we'd be providing. Maybe I'll try and throw in there some of the updates that we'll do in terms of the priorities. Try and be as I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver on that, but really looking to improve the process of displaying our upcoming events.
That's terrific. Would that be web-based, calendar-based?
Dr. Goldman, I think it'll be a calendar.
Don't get carried away. Hang on. I'm thinking. Hey, not only you, my point is not, it's just not only useful for us, but for the community. Exactly.
I just want to say before we're done with this board meeting, that the themes that have come through in this meeting are really encouraging. From the priorities, the line with the pillars, from Jonathan's report about what's going on with facilities and the pride that he's instilling in the folks that work with him and in our schools, and the organization that we're talking about, the budget and the planning that Dr. Mozzarella has done, and Greg's work as he's done with the budget. What's coming through here is so encouraging, so professional, such growth. And I want to compliment everyone. It's really awesome. Thank you. And don't get the calendar. Oh, that's to come yet.
And as long as we're dreaming about items to do, not too crazy, don't worry. Love to see the assurances and the idea of children on there, on the wall.
Let's not forget the scorecard.
You got it. All right, any other items or issues to address? At 7:39 on August 17th, we will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.